Cutaway, you'll hear the DDO call out the final countdown. Enjoy the launch.
Top à 0-20 secondes. Lagage du mât VKM, allumage triétage, à tous de DDO. Attention au décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, unité, top décollage. Les paramètres bord sont normaux. Bon fonctionnement des moteurs du premier et deuxième étage. Stabilisation du lanceur sur les 3 axes.
Well, fine shots. Always impressive no matter how many times you see Soyuz powering into the sky. 309 tons at liftoff. That's less than half the mass of Ariane 5. The boosters are the first stage. The boosters on the central core or second stage are burning now,
Les
as you can see.
paramètres bord sont conformes à l'attendu.
As the DDO says, all is well on board. The boosters weigh 45 tons each at liftoff. Total mass of the first stage, 178 tons. Their engines running on liquid oxygen and kerosene. The same propellants used in each of the 3 lower stages.
Les paramètres propulsifs sont conformes à l'attendu.
The second, or the core stage, similar to the boosters, its ignition occurred on the launch pad. As you saw, the stage will burn for 4 minutes. Remember, Soyuz weighed 309 tons at liftoff after separation of her boosters, which you may be able to see by with the naked eye, but there's the onboard camera showing you what it looks like.
Séparation des 4 propulseurs.
At separation of her boosters, she's down to 135 tons. So in less than 2 minutes, she loses more than half her weight. On the bottom of your screen on the left, our altitude, on the right, our speed. These figures coming in from the downrange stations. Galileo in yellow on the screen, on the left just disappearing. That's the local station here in Kourou. The data are received by the Russian teams in the launch center, then confirmed before being broadcast. Next up is jettison of the fairing. That's in about 20 seconds. Fairing measures 4 meters in diameter, stands about 11 meters tall. We can get rid of it now in 17 seconds because we no longer need the protection it gives the satellites during their ride through the Earth's atmosphere. At 100 kilometers up, we are out of the dense layers of the atmosphere. There's no more friction, no more heating, which can disturb anything to disturb the satellites. And there you see the fairing jettison. There's another half, which is out of camera range on the port side of the vehicle. This powered phase of Soyuz's first 3 stages will last about 9 minutes. Then the upper composite, called the frigate, that's the upper stage, with the satellites, will be separated. It takes over and does the rest of the work, completing the mission. Europe's space effort is a 3-way affair. Arianespace, marketing and operating the launch services and the Ariane program. The European Space Agency funding new programs. And the French Space Agency CNES overseeing separated. It takes over and does the rest of the work, completing the mission. Europe's space effort is a 3-way affair. Arianespace, marketing and operating the launch services and the Ariane program. the European Space Agency funding new programs, and the French Space Agency CNES overseeing coordination of all space-based operations. Marianne Claire, you heard her here just at the beginning of the broadcast, new director of the space base since a month, roughly, and also the first woman to hold the role.
Confirmation de la séparation des deux demi-coiffes.
The CNES site here, chosen in 1964 because of many advantages, not least among them a large opening on the water. We have 50 kilometers of coastline, which makes possible flying both north and east, north for sun-synchronous orbits like tonight, east for geostationary orbits. Coming up on separation of the second stage. There you see what it looks like on the animation and what it looks like on the onboard camera. 186 kilometers up. And we will have ignition of the third stage. The DDU has just called that out. One unusual aspect of the Soyuz, whereas with Ariane, for example, we separate the lower stage before igniting the upper stage, Soyuz does the opposite. The third stage is actually ignited 2 seconds before separation of the second stage. The reason being, the lower part of the third stage, called the skirt, is used to channel the flux of this third stage motor ignition down toward the stage below, where it rebounds, giving an added thrust, assisting separation. The third stage skirt is then separated 10 seconds later, and during those 10 seconds, Soyuz climbs 4 kilometers. In an older version of Soyuz, without the frigate upper stage, it's the third stage, which put the satellites into its initial Earth orbit. Our next film, and the first on our passengers, coming up on Cosmos SkyMed second generation.
Hi, I'm Véronique Loisel, and I am the Program Director for Cosmos SkyMed second generation at Arianespace. My work mainly consists in interfacing with our customer for all subjects linked to technical matters, but also contractual, communication, financial, insurance, and legal aspects. Our job is to respond at best at our customers' requests. As for Cosmos SkyMed second generation, the 2,205 kilogram main satellite was manufactured by Thales Arianespace in Italy for the benefit of the Italian Space Agency and the Italian Ministry of Defense. It is a dual system, civil and military, designed to address the requirements of both commercial and government customers, as well as the scientific community. Cosmos SkyMed second generation will be part of a constellation of 2 satellites, which aims at providing an enhanced quality of the imaging services to the end customers with respect to the current CSG constellation. Thales Arianespace is a very important customer and partner for Arianespace. Indeed, Cosmos SkyMed second generation represents the 162nd satellite manufactured by the company and to be launched by Arianespace. It will be also the 4th satellite to be launched for the Italian Space Agency and the 9th for Italy, comprising ASI, Italian MOD, and Telespazio.
You may have noticed that since the start of the mission, events are announced by the DDA with maybe a slight 1-2 second delay with the pictures you see on the animation. This is quite normal, nothing to be alarmed about. The information, that's telemetry and radar, coming into the ground stations, then sent by them here to Jupiter, have to be first confirmed by our Russian teams in Moscow. Then they come to French Guiana at the CVI, which is the Quick Look Telemetry Center, which relays them to the DDO here. So at certain moments there might be a short time lapse, nothing abnormal about that. We will be going up to the CVI for a visit later in the broadcast. The Soyuz we're using today, it's the most recent version, the Soyuz 2. Originally, you might recall, Soyuz was a missile called the R-7, the world's first intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, developed in 1953 by Sergei Korolev, who was the father of the Soviet space program. The Soviet R-series was modeled on the German V-2. On October 4th, 1957, R-7 put in orbit Sputnik, you will recall. There's the separation of the third stage. See what that looks like. And with that, we have come to the end of the first part of the powered flight phase. We're now awaiting confirmation of the first frigate burn. Saint-Hubert at the top of your screen. That's our next downrange tracking station. It's
Extinction du troisième étage et séparation du troisième étage.
We're waiting for confirmation of the first frigate burn. There will be 7, remember. Some will take place during the breaks, so we won't see them. We're going to cut away twice at 2 moments during the broadcast. We need 7 burns because we're launching 5 satellites, and although all are headed toward a sun-synchronous orbit, each has to go into its own orbit, of course, and its own altitude. And an interesting mix of satellites for this mission, multiple mission tonight. Cosmos SkyMed, Earth Observation, the scientific mission CHEOPS for the European Space Agency, and then in the final part of the broadcast, 3 CubeSats, small ones, OPS, SAT, ISAT, and ANGELS. We'll be describing each in turn. There you see, right on time, the first ignition of the frigate burns coming at 470 kilometers up, roughly. Our speed, 6.2 kilometers. This first burn will last 11 minutes. The second burn will take place at plus 1 hour into the mission, and the third, 51 minutes later. The frigate upper stage, produced by NPO Lavochkin, prime contractors. Mass at liftoff, 6.3 tons, carries almost as much in fuel, 5.3 tons. The frigate stands 1.5 meters tall. Frigate is an autonomous, flexible upper stage, relatively recent addition, qualified in 2000. It has been designed to operate as an orbiter and thus extends the capability of the Soyuz, giving her access to all orbits, low Earth orbit, sun-synchronous like tonight, medium Earth orbit, GTO, GEO, and escape orbits. It's independent from the lower 3 stages, since it has its own tracking telemetry systems, navigation, and guidance. Our second film on Cosmos SkyMed, up next.
The Cosmos SkyMed system consists of a constellation of 4 identical satellites equipped with a high-resolution SAR, synthetic aperture radar, operating in X-band. It is a dual civil and defense system designed to address the requirement of both commercial and government customers, as well as the scientific community. Cosmos SkyMed allows global coverage of the planet, operating in all weather conditions and lightning, and provides the geolocalized images with extreme accuracy. The Cosmos SkyMed system is a flagship of Italian technology in the world. It is the only constellation of this type currently existing in the global level. It is founded by the Italian Space Agency and the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Education, University and Research. The first and second generation of Cosmos system is a result and expression of the best skill of the Italian space industry. The second generation of the Cosmos system will ensure the continuity in the services so far provided by the first generation satellites and ground segments, representing a real generational leap in terms of technology, performance and operational life of the system, and providing new application possibility. Both satellites of the second generation are improved version of the original design. The Cosmos second generation SAR is also an improved version of the first generation X-band SAR system. Thales Arianespace in Italy is the program prime contractor, therefore responsible for the development and construction for the entire Cosmos SkyMed system. Telespazio built the entire ground segment of this constellation, whilst Leonardo Electronics Division participates in the program producing state-of-the-art equipment that regulates and distributes the satellite electrical power. Thanks to the progressive growth of design and technological skills in SAR, Thales Arianespace came into the 90s with the development of the constellation Cosmos SkyMed, the satellite platform that was used in a variety of missions such as RadarSat-2 and also in the ESA Copernicus Sentinel-1 radar satellite. Cosmo gave us also important commercial opportunity. We in fact have signed an important contract with Korean Agency for Defense and Development. And we hope to continue on this successful path with other commercial achievements in the future. Finally, let me take this opportunity to thank the Italian Ministry of Defense and the Italian Space Agency for continuing to trust in us as a partner. And also, let me congratulate with all Thales Arianespace team all the employees that worked tirelessly to reach these great results in terms of milestone.
During the film, we were picked up by our next downrange tracking station, that's Saint-Hubert in Quebec. Soyuz heading north were no longer being followed by the Galileo station here locally in French Guiana. We're out of range. Saint-Hubert, located outside Montreal, the Canadian Space Agency has its mobile servicing system operations complex there, all kinds of training and tracking facilities for space operations and support. As we look at the Cosmos SkyMed team, their satellite will be separated in about 8 minutes, plus 12 minutes, I should say, plus 22 minutes, 44 seconds. Cosmos SkyMed is the 4th satellite to be launched by Arianespace for the Italian Space Agency, ASI. The 3 others, 2 were launched on Vegas, that was Prisma, and Lares on the very first Vega mission, and Athena Fidus went up on an Ariane 5. Our next film on the first passenger will give you an idea what the satellite will do once it's in place. nice illustration during the film of how the satellite uses its spot beams. All proceeding normally on board at 19 minutes into the mission, 16 minutes to go in this first part. A note on the launch pad from where we lifted off, 28 kilometers from Jupiter roughly. It's the 7th in the world, 7th Soyuz pad. And the most recent, until about 3 years ago, there are 2 Soyuz pads at Baikonur, 4 at Plesetsk. A new pad, the world's 8th, was built in Russia at Vostochny with a gantry, and the gantry is only used here at the CSG and at the new site at Vostochny. We're coming up in about 30 seconds on extinction of the first frigate burn, and you'll hear the DDO call out the milestone. Some other Soyuz facts, I'm sure you might recall, besides orbiting the first artificial satellite Sputnik over 60 years ago, 1957, of course, the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin, 1961, lifted by a Soyuz, the first woman in space, the first spacewalk. Soyuz also holds the world's highest demonstrated reliability record, close to 99%. That's pretty remarkable. You see the first stage engine shutting down, so that burn is over. Soyuz positioning herself for release of the first satellite, CSG-1. The frigate is on the extreme left of the vehicle. Our next film on Cosmos SkyMed, first maneuvers after separation.
Giancarlo, you are the Cosmos SkyMed second generation program director at the Italian Space Agency. Could you explain us the mission in a few words?
Cosmos SkyMed second generation is an Italian national Earth observation program. It's based on a constellation of X-band synthetic aperture radar satellites. It's a joint initiative between the Italian Space Agency and the Italian Ministry of Defense, and enables through a single system to fulfill both military and civilian national Earth observation needs. With the second generation, Italy will continue to benefit of a key space infrastructure that allows observing our planet in night and day and all weather conditions, providing also additional capabilities to the first generation, still in operation since more than 10 years.
Thanks, Giancarlo. Andrea, you are the satellite mission director. How would you summarize the different steps which will happen after the separation?
Concerning the commissioning of the satellite, we will follow a nominal process. During the LEOP, the satellite will deploy the solar array wings, the X-band downlink antennas, and the phased array antenna of the SAR payload. Before Christmas, we will enter in the in-orbit test phase. The satellite will reach its final orbit, a down-dusk synchronous orbit with an average altitude of 620 kilometers, and we will perform the calibration of the electronic beams of the SAR payload. In springtime, we will complete the handover with the operational teams to allow the satellite to start to provide the services to our end users.
Approaching separation of Cosmos SkyMed. Cosmos SkyMed, you can see on the left of the vehicle. The 9th satellite to be launched by Arianespace for Italy. 2 more Italian satellites to be launched in the Arianespace backlog. There will be a CSG-2. There's also an auxiliary payload. CSG-1 built by Thales Alenia Space, the 161st satellite launched by Arianespace, manufactured by the group. And there you have the scheduled separation. We're waiting for the DDO confirmation. Again, we mentioned the slight
Fin de manœuvre d'orientation
lapse.
au profit du satellite haut Cosmos SkyMed.
Before we get confirmation, always a moment of high concentration in Jupiter and around the world, as at all the posts, the teams are monitoring their satellite. Separation, of course, marking an end as well as a beginning. But some of the Cosmo SkyMed teams have been on the project for years. For others, work will be just beginning.
Confirmation de la séparation de la charge utile haute Cosmos SkyMed second generation.
All right, and you see the DDO confirming. And you hear the applause. The first good news of the night, Soyuz successfully separating her first passenger. the 2.2-ton Cosmos SkyMed second generation one. For the Cosmo people, you can see their smiles, a moment of triumph, watching their satellite leaving the mothership on its way to begin life on orbit. The satellite's early orbit maneuvers will take 1 week. In-orbit testing will be completed by next March. Start of operations scheduled for June. There will be a second Cosmos SkyMed we mentioned to be launched next year, I believe, and Ozzy tells us that full operational capacity with the 2-satellite fleet will be available in mid-2021. And on that note, we're going to go to a launch replay, and you can relive those very exciting moments as Soyuz left the pad almost half an hour ago. Frigate is moving into her first ballistics phase. We will suspend the broadcast momentarily while she does so and give you a break. We'll be back for more of the mission. Remember, 4 more passengers to be launched. You can stay connected during the break via the internet or watch events on the screen. Here in Kourou, the VIPs and visitors watching from the other observation sites at the base will be joining the crowd here for a breakfast. Everyone will return to their sites, to this site, to their sites, for the second part of the broadcast, which will begin at plus 2 hours and 1 minute. So enjoy the break. We'll see you back here then.